Hey, that guy team. My name is Max. I'm from YouTube channel Success Council, and I'm a fellow Ancap. I recently came across an argument which I think sufficiently neuters the philosophical position of Ancap, and so I wanted to run it past you, see if you had a good defense for it. The argument goes something along the lines of this. I think most Ancaps agree that the concept of a HOA or a homeowners association is a philosophically moral construct, meaning I can choose to buy a condominium in a condominium building or a lot of land on a gated community or a non-gated community or something like that, and I voluntarily agree to abide by the rules of that association, and I'm obligated to pay dues, and I abide by those rules. And that was sufficient for me for a long time, but I've noticed of late that it occurs to me that it's really a distinction without a difference between an HOA and a country. The only distinction and difference that I can see, really, is that the practicality and the scale of it. If there is 200 of them, we call it a country. If there is 200 million of them, we call them an HOA. And this really got highlighted to me recently when I realized the depth and breadth of the contracts and things that go into HOAs. So I was recently visiting my in-laws, and they live in a really nice private community. And it's not gated, people can come and go as they please. However, there are rules in there. One of the rules was you're not allowed to rent out your house. They want everybody to be owner-occupiers. And when I first heard that, I was like, knee-jerk reaction. I was like, what? The HOA tells you what you can do in your own house? And then I thought, oh, hang on a minute, all the gardens are beautifully manicured and this is an incredibly nice place to live. And actually, yeah, I'd like to live here. This is a great rule. I would sign up to this HOA. And then I thought, well, where does this end? It's like, well, okay, so I wanted to see the distinctions between an HOA and a country and really try to grab onto something that meant there's a significant difference there. And I couldn't really come up with it. I mean, if a HOA wanted to charge rather than, $1,000 a year for, depending on your lot size or whatever the usual rules are for HOAs, if they said, we're going to charge proportional to your income and you have to submit tax returns, then everybody who chose to live in that HOA would have to oblige. And so I struggled to find a philosophical difference between an HOA and a country. And that causes a real problem for me. Because the only way, for several reasons. One, a practical reason. The only way I can see society working, I can't imagine society working without HOAs and people coming together to form voluntary communities and abiding by rules that they've volunteered to agree to. Now, philosophically, if we say that HOAs are a valid construct and people can voluntarily choose to be part of this community, and even if, remember, if you buy a lot of land or buy a condominium and you pass away and your heirs get that condominium, they inherit the rules as well. Now, they can choose to sell that piece of property and move elsewhere. Now but that's true of countries. You can leave a country and go to find other rules. The only thing that Ancaps are annoyed at is that, well, there's only 200 or 300 HOAs to choose from, and it's not a very competitive market. If I do choose to get up and leave this country for a greener pastures and place where I think the rules are more to my satisfaction, I've got to give up my social network, probably my job, all of my friends, and it's a huge effort. And so all that an Ancap really asks for is that we just want lots of competition. What I'd love is, okay, I don't like this HOA, well, I'll go 3 miles down the road and I like that HOA better. I don't have to give up my job, I don't have to give up my friends, I don't have to give up my knowledge of the city. It's a practical answer and not a philosophical answer. So if you arrive at this point, which I have kind of arrived at, which is there's no philosophical distinction between an HOA and a country, well, now you get to the conclusion that the fact that we just have 200 or 300 countries on the planet is a market failure, or that's what I'm advocating. It's like the world would be better if there would be hundreds of millions of smaller HOAs instead of 200 or 300 big HOAs we call countries. And so if I try and win that argument, well, now I'm just saying I'm right and the market's wrong and it's a market failure. That doesn't make sense. So now I go, well, okay, if I subscribe to the fact that the market's pretty much always right, why do we only have 200 or 300 countries? And then I think, well, okay, maybe my concept of best organizations for national defense and in order to thwart and throw off attack from foreign armies, etc. Maybe it requires a little bit more than just a conglomeration of HOAs or whatever, because either way I'm stuck. I either say, well, it's a market failure, and that has consequences to the libertarian argument. Or I say that, well, actually the market's right, and the best way to organise ourselves is with this, let's say, limited competition of HOAs, 300 countries. So I've been battling with this question for the last few months, haven't really come up with any solutions. I thought I'd reach out to yourself because I really appreciate your channel, really appreciate what you're doing, I enjoy it. So yeah, if you had any thoughts, I'd really appreciate hearing from you. Oh, and if you do check out my channel, the last year or two I've been a bit lazy with videos and it's been a lot of Bitcoin stuff. Years before I've done some really good stuff on Ancap and libertarian philosophy, so I think you might enjoy those if you do get a chance to look at them. But I'd love to hear your opinion. Thanks for joining in. Bye.